They could be a scent issue.
I do know it was even when they were very small. When they just had a couple of leaves, he was already uh, controlled by them.
Okay, can you check your the stream, Snork, and see if you get the latency issues, the buffering?
Well, I'm jerking around and it doesn't seem to be throwing me into buffer land.
Wax on, wax off. Take the fence. Side to side. Oops. Do you see any buffering issues?
No.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Usually motion makes it the worst.
Oh, yeah, I know. Good. Yeah, I was just messing around with some settings, which I probably shouldn't do. I should probably have someone else check the YouTube stream, because when I check the YouTube stream, it's always fine. Oh, I should probably check outside of my, it shouldn't matter. Stream's a stream. I don't know. It should, well, I had two things that were messed up. I don't know which one. I have to test them out individually. It doesn't matter. The stream's good. It's not like people care what we look like. I mean, I don't think they care. They come here to look at us. It's like, hey, look at that guy. He looks either funny or good looking.
When I'm when I'm in the chat, I'm usually listening. I'm not even looking at the screen.
Okay, so what do we want to talk about? Oh, so Kelly went to the left forum. She went to two things, and hopefully she can pop on to talk about it, or maybe do a just coordinated talk on it. But do you guys know if anyone who went to the left forum?
I heard Jamarl's report on it.
What did he think?
I've heard some of Kelly's reports on it. They seem to like, these events, they're designed to get people motivated, right? And they're good at doing that. So it seems to me when a lot of people come out of these events with a renewed sense of purpose, and then reality sets in like a week later. They realize that it was all just a pep rally.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like any. I mean, not many people, not many progressives, I guess you could say, of the left outside the Democratic Party won the primaries for the 2018 election, right? And it's not looking good for any green or independent out there.
No, but in California, one green will make it to the ballot on this fall.
Woohoo! One green. That's all it takes.
That is a major step forward. That green knocked out a Republican candidate.
Oh, okay. I mean, are the Republicans even in the race? I guess in wherever, is it a district? Is it a Senate race?
I don't know, but I think the idea with the two-party was, the two people go.
Yeah.
It was, probably thought to usually be two parties.
Yeah.
And so in that one, it has probably, since a Republican doesn't get to participate in this, my guess is that the Republicans are going to start asking for the end of the jungle.
Okay.
Yeah, because they start seeing that they're not going to get to play ball. I don't know what they can do at the national level to prevent it. Can they? I have no clue. Can at the national level, can they say that nobody will have jungle elections anymore? I don't think that the feds can intervene with how the locals do their elections.
Well, it's weird how they have it set up. I mean, you can have a Republican against a Republican, or a Democrat against a Democrat. It's hard to tell. Like, I'm trying to find out what district that Campbell guy is in. Trying to look for it.
By the way, if I could have to disappear for a little bit, not like disappear, like die, disappear from the screen, I've been getting flood warnings till like 4:30 in the morning.
I said you've been getting weird weather. Did you find that radar station I sent you?
I saw it, but I was busy setting up here, so I didn't really look.
Yeah.
And oh, go ahead.
Because it's like a wave hit over North Platte and rose the atmosphere up and then collapsed. So you probably have an hour and a half till that comes by.
Ooh. Okay.
And I haven't gone back and looked at it lately.
Yeah, I'm trying to look at the weather.
But when I looked at my weather, I pulled back and looked at the whole area, and that's when I saw that you were kind of on Thor's shit list.
Yeah, I gotta stop going live. Whenever I go live on YouTube with my cell phone, it's horrible. Like, you can't see anything. It's like, why do they even have it? You can go live. I don't. Maybe it's just my channel. They don't like it, but I'm gonna have to stop using the phone for live streaming. I'll just have to record local and then just upload it. Okay. So what do we talk about now?
Oh, sorry. That Doug Campbell. He's actually he's in Montana. So we're looking at another representative in Montana.
So 2 Greens made the ballot.
Okay, that's not bad. That's a start. I mean, at this rate, we'll have.
That's phenomenal. That basically in both of these, a major party got blocked out. Correct? Or no, not in Montana. They still have a Democrat and Republican, don't they?
They have what's this? Kathleen Williams.
I mean, it's a start. They're not even elected into office yet, and then once they are elected into office, that's another threshold. And then after they make it in office, that they don't go back on what they say that they're gonna be about, that would be another threshold. So there's a lot of what ifs.
Well, it doesn't change the overall paradigm. I mean,
nope, it doesn't.
They have these parties have a lock on our electoral system, and they're not going to allow for a third party to rise up.
Yeah,
they have to be challenged in the courts before we can challenge them at the polls.
Yeah.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Hold on. Yep.
Hail. All the blues are hail.
That was some decent sized hail, man.
Yeah, it was a marble sized. I mean, it kind of melted a bit before I picked it up, so it was probably. I mean, it was like, yeah, I don't want to make this 666 sign. It was.
Mr. Babylon.
It was about this size.
Yeah.
In roundness.
Maybe a little bit smaller,
smaller.
About that size.
Yeah.
Still enough to scratch the crap out of your car, though. Like, it's still kind of soft. Hail can get pretty hard.
Yeah.
That looked like it melted a bit.
And
so, just as a side note, I mean, was there signs of any previous flooding in your basement?
No, this place doesn't really flood very much. It's well concreted, I guess. I don't know what you would say.
Is that window behind you that's level to the ground, right?
Yes.
Go get some sandbags like one of these days, dude.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Just put it in front. Because I block it off anyway. I have 4 windows in here. The only problem is it's also an escape route. I don't know why, because I would just go up the stairs and exit like 3 different ways. But
when you experience flooding, you can put them up, and when there's not flooding, you can just store them.
Yeah. For most floods, to just have a really good battery backup sump pump.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. I was gonna get a I was- well, an uninterruptible power supply for the computers and the router, just in case, and then also have what is it?
There's
Propane for the battery. I'm horrible today.
You
For
have a
backup
propane?
power generator.
Okay, but sump pump, they sell them. You need like an inch and a half. You're that close to a heavy rain area. An inch and a half sump pump, good sized one.
Yeah.
But usually these areas will have two, because we'll have these long areas of hardly any rain, and then we'll get 16 inches in an hour.
Yeah.
So you get one that's got almost like a car battery in it. And it'll last you for 2 or 3 hours when there's an outage. When there isn't an outage, but you still have one of these deluges, it just helps keep you extra dry. Both of them will kick on and kick it out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Well, also, man, I noticed that you've got like your computer and all that set up like right there. So that window's got a pretty good seal on it, huh?
Yeah, I'm hoping.
It doesn't matter. On these really big ones, it can come up through your drain. Because what happens is that the place next to you floods, and it goes through the drain and starts coming up your drain. So we used to have this piece of iron that was for an old steam engine block. And it was like 150 pounds. And it was just big enough to cover our drain. 6-inch diameter cylinder weighs an awful lot when it's iron. And you'd be surprised how much pressure that you will have coming up out of your sewer when it starts backing up.
Look at him. We've wrecked his night. Your computer's ruined, man. Your whole house is going to go up in flames.
No, but what you end up needing is you need a pipe that can handle like 150 psi, or not a pipe, but a block that weighs like 150 pounds to go over that hole. And you want to you just gotta push it in place before you go to bed on these really, really bad nights. Currently, I don't have such protection. We have a sump hole. It's a 2-foot by 2-foot hole in the in the basement floor.
Yeah, that's what I have.
And it goes right out to tile. So anything that starts flooding theoretically shouldn't cover more than a little bit of a film between the basement drain and the sump drain.
Okay.
We also have a 6-inch block around our downstairs shower with the drain that we could get 6 inches in there contained to the shower before it goes out to the rest of the house.
Yeah. I don't see any indication in the past where that might have happened, so I'm crossing my fingers.
You might want to caulk up that window at some point or something.
That's what she said. Yeah, again, I don't see any indication that it was a problem in the past with the window or windows. So, but yeah, I think better preparation might be it's always a good idea.
If you're at the Menards anyway.
Yeah.
You're in a new environment, this is different from living in Boston. There's things that you're just going to have to get used to paying attention to and whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't take long to get caught up. I bet it's much tougher to navigate the things you have to know in Boston than it is here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a few snowstorms, you experience them in Boston. Some bad ones.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through a couple of tornadoes this year, and you'll get used to your sequence of what you need to do.
Yep.
And usually they miss you.
Which is, yeah, I'm hoping, because I think this house is could be 1950s. I'll have to look when this house was built, but I mean, it's been here for a couple of decades, so obviously a tornado didn't hit it, but you never know.
The older houses tend to do very well against tornadoes. You know, even in this community, you can see where there's old houses and new houses. We had an F5. They're not really that common. I got a problem here.
Give me a sec. With that problem.
I remember, like, the first year I moved down to Arizona, like, I knew about the monsoons, right? But I wasn't really aware of how crazy they got. And the same thing with Biloxi. When I moved down to Biloxi, the damn hurricane hit. And when you're in the middle of a hurricane, I mean, it looks like the air is more water than air. Like, you can see it moving around like water. It's crazy. And, you know, there's 3 feet of water on the streets, and you're just not ready for it.
Yeah.
Like, my car almost got flooded out because I wasn't aware of what was up.
I remember going through a lot of hurricanes over in Houston, Texas. When I was born there, so I lived there for a while. So most of it would pass through Galveston, where they get hit the hardest. But yeah, there were some big hurricanes there where you would see just the streets flooded, and you'd see all the lightning, thunder, power would go out, and it was just me and my brother, and I was young, anywhere from like 3 to 8 when the hurricanes have hit, and yeah, it was kind of scary when you're a kid. My daughter today, because of the hail, thunderstorms, she gets worried about me when I go outside, and I go, why? I'm just gonna go outside. And she's like, no. And I go, why not? And she goes, I love you. It's cute. It's awesome.
You want to be careful in those thunderstorms. The half-inch hail sometimes suddenly jumps up to 2 inch or 3 inch.
Yeah.
Well, and its density changes.
I wasn't going outside. I was just going to be on that. I'm still covered. She just doesn't want me out there, period.
Yeah. When this house got hit by it was softball size hail. You know, my father and I were down here in the basement, and we just started hearing crashing and banging going on. And we had, what is the cat doing? Because we had another cat still upstairs. And we're just like, what's the cat doing? It's knocking things over. And it sounded like, you know, stuff in the house, like, you know, TVs and stuff are being thrown. And I was like, oh, you know, just expected to walk upstairs and to see the whole interior trashed by the cat. Looked outside and you see this hail that's so big. We were just really lucky that it didn't start smashing through the windows.
Wow. Yeah, I'm worried about the car. We need to get our garage cleaned up with all our stuff, so we don't have these golf ball size dents in them. Although I did tell my wife that I think there's Mythbusters where you get more efficient gas mileage if you have golf sized dents on your car.
You usually don't get that many dents.
Yeah.
It's usually just a few big ones. My car was totaled just with a few dents.
Wow.
I mean, they take the value of your car down to 0, even though it drives perfectly.
Just because it's dense?
Yeah. If it hits enough of the body that knocks it below the value of the car. And I had a Chevy Cobalt, so we're talking about a lot of money to start with.
Cobalt. Yeah, they've got, like, I would go out and check your car for dents, and if there's even one dent on it, it's time to get a hold of the insurance company.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how much a hood or a front panel costs. I mean, I think
that's what Gorilla Tape is for.
Yeah.
But why not collect a check, dude?
Yeah.
That's my point.
And then you can buy the car back for like $750. Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll sell it. They'll sell it for scrap. Then you got to go buy a scrap license. It's called a salvage license. It allows you to return your car to the living world. So you have a zombie car that you can have insurance on it for purposes of driving, having an accident. You can't have comprehensive. They will not pay for anything broken on the car again after that.
Oh.
They'll basically scrap out your car, perfectly running car, and that's what mine is. Mine was a damaged car. I think it was fantastic for my needs. I didn't want to spend a lot of money.
It's pointless to buy a new car, except for one's own entertainment or ego. I mean, the thing goes down in value the second you drive it off that lot, and it just keeps depreciating.
Well,
people who blow all this money on vehicles, middle class people, they're foolish. They should just go buy a used car.
Yeah, and this one didn't have a lot of miles on it. It was really clean. And I almost couldn't tell where the dents were. And
leasing vehicles, I don't understand why people lease vehicles unless they have to impress people for business or some other deal.
Well, it was a business thing where if you purchased the car, it was an asset and had to be depreciated over 8 years. But if you leased it, you could call it an expense and immediately take it off.
Yeah, there is that.
That's it. That's the total reason for it. For a personal lease, I can't understand that at all. You take all the losses on the car. When it's left over, they still get a good trade-in on it. You don't.
And God forbid you violate any of the terms or you go over in the miles or anything. Then the penalties start kicking in. It's just a scam.
Yeah.
It's just about people's ego. They want to have a new car.
And the lease deals usually aren't that good. But my son got a fantastic car off lease.
What was it?
I can't remember what it was, but he was really happy with it. He had an accident. I only had $4,000 in my bank account to give him. So I gave him $4,000 for a down payment to go out and get a car. And he goes, "Oh, man, everybody the cars are just so expensive." And I said, "Here, you go to this car rental place and say you'd like to buy an off-lease car." And it's like, you won't believe what they cost.
That's a good idea.
And so it's a 2-year-old car or a 1-year-old car, depending on which one you get. I think he got a 2-year-old. Maybe it was a 1. And that first year or two is where all the value comes off the car. And so he got it at a decent price, low mileage, clean, well maintained. Those car places, they know what day that car has to be oiled, and they oil it. If it's no paint scratches, no dents on it, nothing, no cigarette burns. He asked for a car, not a clean car, and he got a clean car. And they were happy that he bought it. When he walked in and bought it, he was happy with the price. And they treated him like he was doing them a favor buying the car.
Okay, so I finally found the house. What year it was built? It was built in 1880.
Wee. That's an old house.
Yeah.
140-year-old house.
That's not the original basement.
No way. Yeah. That's like
that house has been lifted up. Yeah, that house has been lifted up and a new basement put down. So it's not actually an 1880 house. It's had some major refits since then. Anybody that goes to that amount of money to replace a basement, they've done some nice work upstairs too.
It doesn't look very nice upstairs, but yeah.
Well, even if that was nice work was 50 years ago, that is not a 1950 style or 1880 style.
Yeah.
So is there any of the original woodwork left in there?
The Ouija board?
The dungeon, the cage.
When you walk by the Ouija board, the strange drum sound out.
He starts hearing the sound of a dying cow.
Oh.
That's it. Oh, that's not coming from the Ouija board.
It's a pretty big print. So the sounds it makes are not the normal sounds. Usually they make smaller pieces.
I can't hear them at all. Like every once in a while I hear a little bit of something.
I don't know.
But yeah, man, that's an old house. Like the exterior has obviously been all, covered over with siding.
I don't know what in this house might be still from 1880. I can't see.
Odds are the kitchen's been replaced at least once.
Yeah. Probably, I think it was probably the 60s or 70s, the way it looks. It's, yeah. My wife
you have an attic, right?
It's very small. It's just like a crawl space attic.
Have you been up in it?
I'm kind of afraid to unless I'm in my bee suit.
That's like you're like Linus in his blanket with that damn thing.
Yeah. If I'm gonna explore this house, I'm gonna be wearing my beekeeper suit.
You might find something crazy up there, man. Like I had a girlfriend and she lived in this old house, right?
Well, there's a picture.
And she went up into her attic and she found what do they call them? It's one of like Catholic priests bring them over when people die. And it's like a wooden box and it's got like the incense burner and a Bible and all this stuff. And that stuff was very old. It was a very cool find. So who knows, man? Maybe somewhere around there you'll find something.
Yeah, I think there's a picture before we bought the house. Like, I'm thinking that's where like bats could have been for a while. So I may have to go up there, brave it, and then clean it up just so any bat droppings. But the worst part is just peeking, looking in, and then all this dust and stuff is falling when you open up that trap door. And then I have to go all the way in it, and I'll be in my beekeeper suit, and I have to clean up everything. It's gonna be like, I know I have to do it. I just don't like the thought of doing it. I mean, there's still a lot of cleaning I still need to do, and all these ceiling things I'm gonna have to take down one day, and just so it doesn't get on the computers and I clean everything. It's just gonna be a pain because I'm gonna need to do it in order to rework all these electrical wires so that they're grounded. Some of them aren't, some of them are. What I end up doing is just fiddling with my what do you call the where where you can have multiple outlets and
yeah.
So when I connect two of them, the one that's connected on the second one is grounded because the first one acts as a kind of a ground. But if there's any type of issue, it'll pretty much just short circuit the
ground fault.
Yeah. But anyways, I've had two.
You should get one of that app that they keep advertising, that device, so you can hook up to your phone. That allows you. It's like a stud finder, except it's X-ray and you can see into your walls. Have you seen that thing yet?
Mm-mm.
They're advertising it all over YouTube.
I've seen that. That looks pretty good.
Yeah. You never know what you can find in those old houses, man. especially that old.
Probably dead bodies.
some
I'd be like,
skulls
I
the size of your
didn't do
fist.
it. Yeah. The thought kind of.
There was another old house around where I live now where someone found 20,000, was it 10 or $20,000 in bills from like 1920.
Yeah.
And it was like in the walls of their house or something. And people think, like, are you familiar with the Purple Gang? Like, it's famous from the Elvis Presley song. The Purple Gang was a liquor smuggling gang, right? And they built a place up here, a restaurant, and they did a lot of their liquor smuggling along these rivers around here back in the day. And that's where they think it came from, was part of that liquor smuggling operation.
But what town was that? I doubt that the liquor gang is up and around Columbus, Nebraska. It's like, yeah, you guys can smuggle booze here, but there's only like probably 5,000, maybe 2,000 people that can drink or will drink.
There's a lot of crazy shit going on in Nebraska in 1880.
Short drive to, well, even in the 20s, short drive to Chicago.
Yep.
They were doing stuff in Canada to feed Chicago.
Okay. I am going to Casper, Wyoming in the end of the month. My brother and mother are visiting, so we figured we kind of meet them. That's not too far. It's almost just a day's drive. Supposedly one of the best trout fishing areas, so you'll see a lot of fishing videos from that, and it'll be nice kind of going through, because we've been through Wyoming, but it was always the northeastern part going over towards Yellowstone, not necessarily the southern part. And the North Platte River is supposed to be really good. It's just the water runoff coming from the mountains in Colorado, so that's kind of, it should probably be some clear water, hopefully, no runoff, like agriculture runoff or too much runoff. I'm thinking about Wyoming as a place to move to eventually too. I don't know what my wife thinks about that.
Like,
I mean, it's
what's
beautiful
the population of Wyoming? Like,
oh, it's the lowest.
20 people, something
Here,
like that.
let me show.
Yeah, I think it's got the highest suicide rate, I think, and it also has the lowest population of women.
Oh well, here we go.
I remember reading some kind of fact sheet about Wyoming not too long ago.
Let me show the screen here.
The only state that pads their population by counting elk.
Yeah. So I mean, the population is the same what Casper is.
Offers a waterfall and ski slopes. That's got to be
let's see.
cool to check out.
I mean, look at that. That's kind of cool.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, you can see the mountains in the distance.
You can bring some sand home to pan.
So we're excited. It's for all the trout fishing.
Wow, that's a giant rainbow.
Yeah. A friend of mine caught a huge rainbow in Walden Pond. I'm just jealous. I miss fishing at Walden Pond. So there's this I think it's called a Miracle Mile, but it's actually like 5.5 miles of where there's like 4,000 trout per I forget how much section of water. It's pretty much, you're guaranteed to catch a lot of trout.
Unless you're really, really bad.
Yeah.
Well, at certain times of the year up here, all you got to do is, like, when they're running up these streams, is just throw light corn in the water.
Yeah.
And, like, they'll come up to the surface and try to grab it.
My first thing was maybe going to Guernsey State Park. We might make a stopover. But this place looks beautiful. Here, I'll show you some pictures if I can see them. I mean, I think this might have been. Maybe I'm thinking of another park. A stopover for the. No, I'm thinking of another park. Sorry, like the the Oregon Trail. Yeah, I think this was part of the Oregon Trail.
Guernsey State Park.
Yeah, it looks pretty. I mean, there's a lot of.
If you've got time, man, take the back way up to or the semi-back way up to Casper. I always like, rather than going on the highways whenever I have time, I'll take the old highway that's next to the interstate. And I usually find that you end up seeing a lot of cool stuff you would have missed.
Yeah, I mean we can't do that right now because our kids, we have an infant who's one, so we can't really lollygag on our travels because our driving is based on his feeding, sleeping, and his stuff.
I ended up finding I think it was in Iowa. I ended up finding part of the Mormon Exodus Trail that way. Was it in Iowa or was it in Missouri? I don't remember, but it was
multiple paths. But I bet you're thinking of Missouri.
It was probably Missouri. It was like there was an old wooden cabin. It was on this weird piece of sectioned off land that was way off the road. But I had stopped. I was taking one of these side trips, and I'd stopped in this town, and I saw that it was one of the kind of local attractions. So I just went and checked it out.
Yeah, one good thing about living here is just we're in the middle of everything. So eventually I'll do a lot more sightseeing and traveling, I hope.
Another thing, if you take this kind of sideways into the Badlands of South Dakota, they have all these crazy cement statues set up. Like one of them is of this giant prairie dog. It's about like 15 feet tall, and it's painted like, I don't know, was it pink or red or something? Like they've got all these crazy statues, and they're just like out in the middle of freaking nowhere. The same thing's on the edge of Death Valley too. They've got all these crazy statues set up for no reason.
Yeah, we went through. I mean, there's a car hinge in Nebraska that we went to. I think that we went through the Badlands too on our way back from Yellowstone. That was okay. We saw what's the president monument? The
Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore. Yeah. It's just, it just gets too touristy. I just don't like touristy. I prefer like nature, the frontier. Yellowstone is awesome. That's more my type of gig, vacation-esque type of travel.
You've really got to drive through the Badlands to appreciate them. Like if you just take that highway that kind of skirts them and then go up to the edge, you don't really get the scope of it.
Yeah. Another thing is, when we last went, must have been a decade ago or 9 years. It was, and it wasn't like you'd have to be really wealthy to have like good cameras and stuff like that. So all my cameras all my photos weren't too good unless you took a lot of like non-digital photos. Yeah, so it'd be nice to go back and take better pictures.
It's crazy there, man. Hiking through it sucks. Like there's cacti like everywhere, and it's not the, they're not very obvious. They hide down in the tall, sharp grasses. So you're stepping on them like all the time unless you keep your eyes to the ground. But of course you want to look at everything that's going on around you. You don't want to stare at the ground.
Yeah.
So inevitably you end up nailing yourself with a cactus.
Oh, I should show the photo of the fishing guys caught. Let's see. What's funny is this, I call him kid. He's not a kid. He's grown, but Let's see. A lot of fishing guys that I know just because they watched all my fishing videos and they go, "Hey, can I go with you to Walden when you go fishing?" And I go, "Okay." So it's just kind of fun. Let's see if I can find photos. All right, send it to. Come on. Sorry, this is taking a while.
I got some fish photos in a fish video the other day. I gotta put the fish video up still. I wasn't catching fish. I was filming it while I was swimming around.
Yeah. How clear is the water there? It's got to be pretty crystal clear.
Yeah, at this time of the year, it's still pretty clear. I mean, it's always pretty clear compared to a lot of places.
Yeah.
But there's at some points of the year, it's extremely clear. And we're kind of getting out of that part of the year right now. But I haven't gone for my first swim yet. Like, I plan on going swimming hopefully next week. Like, it's barely going to get above 60 all week here. And Snork, I was going to ask you, like, how much of an effect do you think what's going on in Hawaii and in Guatemala now is having on continental U.S. weather patterns?
It might be playing a role. This is the water is really warm between Africa and Brazil, which is now is going to have this cooling going over it, and that could cause more convective activity. So we'll have to watch it and see what the experts say. Also, for Guatemala to affect us, it's got to go all the way around the planet twice.
I see.
All right, so I'm going to show you a picture. Let's see.
It's just been unseasonably cold here, and I'm wondering, like, what's causing it.
That's the fish that he caught. It's, I think, the measurement. I asked for a weight, and he didn't respond yet. But it was probably, it's 21 inches. Biggest I've caught was 19 for a rainbow, and he caught one that was 2 inches bigger. I'm pissed. And its girth is about 6 inches wide. That's pretty good. I miss fishing at Walden. Typically they have bigger browns. Like not many rainbows get that big, but we found that there's a good smelt population or rainbow smelt population in a Walden pond, and I mean there's a lot during ice fishing. So I think that's how they're getting so big in the deeper end. Just the smelt population is what they're feeding on. Or other fish.
Like smelt, but I just don't like cleaning them. That's disgusting.
You don't need to clean the smelt. What you do is you just put them in a frying pan with oil, and then you just eat it. You can eat the bones and squeeze out the guts that are cooked.
Sorry.
I mean,
I'm not doing that, dude. Like, they're like, I mean, it's not like a sardine. It's a bit bigger than a sardine, so those guts and whatever, and the eggs and the rest of it. I mean, when you get done cleaning, like a pack, I think of smelt is what they're called. There's eggs and semen all over the place. Like, I'm not eating that.
There's an easy way to. I think you're just supposed to gut them, and then you just put it on a frying pan. Their bones are so brittle that after you fry them, if you fry them enough, they kind of peel off. The meat peels off the skin, and